How's it going, YouTube? Coming in today with another video, and today, guys, what the brain do is going to be Mulcharmy and the new format. This is going to be quite the time moving forward because this card is expensive, and I don't really want to hop into wow, cards are expensive because it's kind of obvious, but this is a little ridiculous, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. If you haven't already checked out my sponsors over at Imperium Duelist, Gem, Cloud, Grimoire, Dragonshield, or RAW, definitely go down below in the description. Check them all out. And then without further ado, let's hop right into our first topic. The first thing I want to talk about is, do you remember this? Dark Destroyer, aka Bank Destroyer, was $200 on pre-sale. This was crazy. This card was so expensive. And it isn't as format warping as Mulcharmy, but it was definitely something that hurt the format quite a bit. A 3,000 untargetable beat stick that also popped something on summon was crazy. And it's something that you could keep putting out on the board too. And then it floated. We got kaijus about the same time as well, so like that did help. So it's still something where the card was really impactful and really crazy strong, but it wasn't as warping as Mulcharmy is. But this still was $200 on a pre-sale. Now, how impactful is Mulcharmy going to be? Now, it's not maxi, but it's essentially maxi. It's almost the same thing, which is really crazy. This is a card where if you have it, and unfortunately, this is just how this YCS at Niagara is about to be. If you have this card and your opponent doesn't, it's going to feel really bad for your opponent. And it's kind of crazy. It's like back when Talent first dropped. I think that I got my playset at like 330 value. And that was something where if you had Talent and your opponent didn't, you just feel like you won. And then nobody really played around Talent either because you didn't really think you had to because it wasn't that popular. And Fuwalos is a little bit different from Purulia because you don't have to drop Fuwalos immediately. You can hold it. And you could just drop it and play your own Talent, which is fine. You could also just throw it whenever you want. If your opponent activates the Sacred Azamina to go ahead and summon for the extra deck, you chain Fuwaros. It's a rough time. It's a rough time. So definitely one of those cards where I think it's even more impactful than Purulia, not only because of obvious reasons of how much you can draw off this card and how impactful it could be, but it's also one that you could just hold for when you really want to use it. And it's also, again, not once per turn. You can drop two of them in a turn. So if you draw a double Fuwaros, if you draw a Fuwaros Purulia, right? It's kind of crazy. Now, the pre-sales are absolutely insane. 168 is just unheard of, and especially for this day and age on cards, we're just seeing so many cards be way too expensive. And this set's going to be a banger because there's so many good pulls, but there's also a lot of bad pulls. There's like 25 QCRs. Good luck pulling this one, right? And a lot of people are turning to like cases, but we just saw what happened with the tins and the pull ratios. I wouldn't be surprised if they were as bad. There is a bright side that Engraver was really easy to pull, and it's still very expensive. Now it's only like $88, which is better than like the $130 that it was at. But when we start seeing this, 206 for a pre-order, it's just, it's insane. It's so insane. And you know, it's something where if you don't have these going to a YCS, it just feels bad because if you are playing against this, you're just at an inherent disadvantage. But at 206 a copy, that's just insane. Now, without the odds and ends, it is $626 for like your witches, your engravers, your bonfires, your Promethean, your Purulias, just the base of the deck. That's not including like your crossouts, your staples, your extra deck. So let's say with everything else here, that's not just your main set of cards that you need. Let's just round it up to like $750. And then let's say that these are like $200 a piece. That's already over $1,000. And it's not even counting Deception being a secret rare, or if you want to play Impulse. So that's really crazy. This is going to be a YCS where a lot of people are unfortunately going to be very priced out of. Maybe there's another way. This is something that I did live on stream. I made this slide upcoming, and I hate that this has finally come full circle to where I'm like, listen, I get it. It is what it is. Maybe there is another way. That feels awful to look at right now. I even put my own little angry react up here. Pay 2K or, you know, the shifter deck. You could just play shifter. Kashtira doesn't really get hurt by Fuwalos. Fluanderies doesn't really get hurt by Fuwaros. There are some options where if you cannot afford Fuwaros, including Runic Stun, that you could play these other decks. And it's really going to be the war of attrition. Who draws the more broken card first? And how deep do you think you can run in the tournament? But like, as much as I hate Shifter, you all know how much I hate Shifter. As much as I hate it, it could be the solution to at least this YCS until this game gets rebalanced finally at some point, please. But we're already considering drolling ourselves on our own turns to stop Fuwaros, and that just feels awful. So it's awful because if you're under Fuwaros, you have to put your opponent in such a game state to where they literally can't play the game even if they draw 18 cards. So like setting up like a DD ground or having shifter or putting up some crazy lingering floodgate that just turns your entire opponent's deck off, right? And that's one thing where you can do that and then randomly shuffle cards back from their hand into the deck. Another thing that I saw that was really funny where people were actually playing Thrust and Heavy Slump. So they put their entire opponent's hand back in their deck, and then they have to draw 2 cards instead of their 18. So that might actually be something that we see happen, which would be kind of funny. You're still going to get Nibiru, you're still going to get hand trapped to death, and it's still going to be a problem. So this is definitely something that I'm not a fan of, especially if we go back real fast. $206. That's crazy. That is too much money. That is too much money. I have heard people even say that they've never been priced out of the game before until now. And even if they're not priced out, like in particular, they still don't want to drop $200 a card. It's just dumb. But I'm going to do my best to try to post some kind of a budget guide if I can get to that too. With like the runic cards or like Fluanderies or Kashtira, just because this has gotten to a point where it's just not even okay anymore. And like Deception, Fuwaros, Dominus Impulse, Volcanics, like they're all secrets. Even Sorrow is secret. Like it's crazy. So do what you can. If you want to go to the event and you cannot afford Fuwaros, you can either take the gamble and say you won't draw it, or that you'll draw the Ash, or maybe you buy 1 Fuwaros and you're playing Crossout, or you're playing Called By, or you just play the Shifter deck, and then you look at your opponent and say that Fuwaros never mattered. But it's going to be quite the format, and I just hope that you all are ready. Keep your head up. Eventually we'll get out of this to a point where we're at a healthy format that we all enjoy. It'll happen, but right now it's going to be a little tough. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Follow my Twitch, Twitter, Discord, Instagram. I will drop a brand new Discord link down below if you would like to join the family. Without further ado, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night, and I'll catch you all later.